Hi, I'm Tom Terwilliger, newsletter editor for Brewings, the quarterly newsletter of the Shell's Border Batch. If you're not sure what that is, let me just start at the top. I belong to the BCCA, which is the Brewery Collectibles Club of America. It's the largest organization of its kind of Breweriana collectors in the world. The BCCA also has chapters underneath it, and the Shell's Border Batch is one of those local chapters that serves southern Minnesota and northern Iowa. I've been a member of the club for over 20 years now. I've been the newsletter editor ever since I got involved with the club. And our goal with this program, Brewings TV, is to make it an online video extension of our quarterly newsletter to try to bring you some news a little more often, make it a little more interesting with some video clips, sound, and things that you can add into video that you can't put into a newsletter. So that's the goal of this program. We call it Brewings TV. And we'll be looking for all kinds of news about Breweriana or beer-related items, breweries, pretty much anything beer-related that we think might be of interest to our members and other people watching this program. With that, let's get started with our first story. A little bit of sad news came our way in the past month as we learned of the passing of Will Anderson. Will Anderson was the author of the Beer Book, also about 8 other books on beer, and he wrote some books on rock and roll and I think baseball. And he had some radio shows that he hosted out in the East Coast region where he lived. The Beer Book was probably the first book about Breweriana. Will is credited with coining the term Breweriana. And he was also a co-founder of the East Coast Breweriana Collectors Association. So he had a lot of influence, I guess you would say, on the early days of the hobby and making people aware of Breweriana. And it's an interesting book, the Beer Book is. I highly suggest if you can find a copy that you do. A lot of times they turn up at a beer show. That's where I got mine. It's a fun read. And one other thing that kind of got me turned on to that book, author Stephen Morris, when he wrote The Great Beer Trek, he described in his book an evening at Will Anderson's house, basking in his collection, drinking regional beers, and great conversation about beer and Breweriana and things like that. But again, Will Anderson, author of the Beer Book, dead at 74. Back in February, some of our Border Batch members decided it was time for a brewery tour as the new Surly Destination Brewery had opened up a little bit earlier than that. And we decided it was time that we paid a call on the folks at Surly and some other breweries in the Twin Cities. Now, our man on the street and our photojournalist, Tom Terwilliger. As you can see, I do pretty much everything around here. On a cold Valentine's Day, 4 of us in the Shell's Border Batch set out for Surly's brand new $30 million destination brewery. It was quite an adventure, and the place was fabulous as it lived up to the billing hype. Upon arrival, you're met with a massive building that towers in the sky, and as you step inside, you get a fantastic view of all the brewing equipment through some large glass windows. Then you head into the dining room and the bar area. This area is large and open, and there are large doors that in the summertime will open up to a patio and a water feature and a place where music can be played outside. Martin was there shortly after the grand opening, and he was concerned on this trip about the parking.
I don't know, we had to park way out. Channel 5 News was here.
Okay.
There was a couple limousines out front, and it was just nuts. It was nuts.
After we left Surly, we headed about a mile back east towards St. Paul and came to a company called Bang Brewing Company. This place is cool. It's in an old grain bin. Well, actually, I'd say it's probably a new grain bin, about 25,000 bushels. Inside, there's a bar, very limited seating, and all of the brewing equipment packed into this grain bin. It's a cool place, very unique idea. The brews here were very solid, and I would highly recommend that you stop in and try them. It's worth seeing just because it's in a grain bin. Next, we walked across the parking lot to Urban Growler, another newer brew pub in the Twin Cities area. It had some nice layout to it. It was a very attractive building. The beers were solid. We didn't eat there as we'd had our lunch at Surly. But again, these two places are a stone's throw from one another. You can't stop at one without stopping at the other. After we left Urban Growler, we were off to one of my favorite stops of the day, Bauhaus Brew Labs. This place was in an old industrial building with glass ceilings in part of the building. It had been repainted and refurbished and turned into a beautiful brewery, but still had the industrial feel, along with a giant crane that used to roll through the buildings, hoisting up pieces of steel, no doubt. These guys are canning, so if you're into the current can collecting, you can get some of their cans in the retail stores. On site, again, they had big doors that opened up to an outdoor area for music and food trucks. The beers here were excellent, and I would highly recommend you stop. From there, we were off to Harriet Brewing Company. This place has a funky sort of Haight-Ashbury 60s vibe to it. All the artwork matches that vibe. The beers here were eclectic, I would say, as well as very solid, and I would definitely recommend that you stop into this unique place. They've even got all kinds of vinyl albums that can be played when they don't have live music. Really a cool place. I enjoyed it. After that, we were on to some other places, including Waconia Brewing Company and Excelsior, but by then your photojournalist and reporter was getting a little full, so we'll have to report on those some other time. Time now for the show calendar. We've got some events coming up I wanted to point out to you. On April 10th and 11th, which is a Friday, Saturday, the Dakota chapter is going to be hosting their show, their annual show at the VFW in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. They have some Friday night hospitality events that you would like to take part in if you can get there on Friday. They have a deal set up with one of the local hotels for room rates, and then on Saturday their show at the VFW. It's always a good show. I think they usually get somewhere around 80 to possibly 100 tables. There's a lot of interesting breweryana shows up there, and you'll meet a lot of great people. You can check out more information on our website, borderbatch.com, or look up the Dakota chapter on Facebook. And later in the month of April, on the 26th, the Shell's Border Batch will be hosting its annual A Day at August Shell, which is our buy, sell, trade beer collectible show at the Shell's Brewing Company. The show takes place in the parking lot as well as in the tap room, the old tap room that is. We'll have that available for our raffle items. Our lunch will be set up in there, and there is some tables where you can set up to display some of your things if you'd rather not be in the parking lot. Most people bring their tables and back their cars up and pull everything out and set up right by their vehicles. It's kind of a part indoor, part outdoor show. There's no fee to get in, no table fee, and we will have lunch available. There will be a raffle, and there will be a meeting for the chapter that takes place right before the raffle. The show officially starts at 9 o'clock on Sunday morning, and at 1 o'clock we'll get together for the raffle and meeting, and then after that we'll go ahead and wrap things up. It's a great show. The gift shop will be open at 11 o'clock. The brewery does give tours in the afternoon if you've never been on one of those. And as a bonus, Assistant Brewmaster Dave Berg might be there, and if he is, he usually gives an all-access Brewmasters tour to the people in our group that are attending the show. Lots of good reasons to attend our show Sunday, April 26th at the Shell's Brewing Company in New Ulm, Minnesota. And next time on Brewings TV, we're going to have a report on those Cato signs that helped us find all those store signs last year. We sent them off to be restored. We'll bring you the story on that next time on Brewings TV. Until then, Prost. I'm Tom Terwilliger.